Confucius by Angel Fago. Confucius was born on September 28, 551 BC, in the district of Zhao to his unwedded teenage mother. He was raised in poverty and struggled to survive. Confucius was a Chinese teacher, editor, politician, and philosopher. His philosophies emphasized personal morality, correctness of interpersonal relationships, justice, and sincerity. He wrote many of the classic Chinese texts that are still read and studied today. His values and principles were rooted in Chinese tradition and belief writing about family loyalty, respecting elders, and focusing on family units and relationships. He thought of the family as a basis for ideal government. He was one of the first people to preach and practice the golden rule of do not do to others what you do not want done to you. Before reading this stories in the humanities class, I had no idea that that quote was from Confucius. The Intellects of Confucius is the collection of sayings and ideas that have been authored by the famous Chinese philosopher Confucius. It is believed to have been written during 475 to 221 BC and completed by 206 to 220 AD. The Analects have grown to be one of the central texts of Confucianism and something that has been widely shared and read. Confucius believed that a country's welfare depended on the morality of its people, starting with the nation's leadership. He thought people could begin practicing virtue and acting morally from the beginning of their lives. Confucius also believed that there could be close to perfect society if people lived a virtuous life. He spoke about living by example for one another, and I find that to be absolutely true in my life today, especially in regards to heroes and people I have admired. I have often wanted to follow their footsteps, and in doing so, it has helped me live a better life. The Confucius Intellect focused on the topics of friendship, emphasizing loyalty and trustworthiness when considering friends. Confucius stressed that one does not need nor should they have friends who are not loyal and trustworthy. Absolutely not. If you choose friends who do not share in your values, they can become a distraction. A valuable teaching in the intellects is do not be concerned that no one recognizes your merits. Be concerned that you may not recognize others. This teaching is important as it stresses the notion that I can learn if I blame others who do not recognize themselves, it is useless. But rather I should work on knowing other merits, which will help me recognize my own shortcomings and make sure I am not closed off in learning about people. This is important for the basis of any relationship, the ability to see the value others and their worth. I also like this passage because it talks about how living for the recognition of others is a desire that will always be left unfulfilled. I like the idea of giving recognition to others. The text talked about the idea of not being afraid to correct oneself. This resonated with me as I sometimes struggle to admit when I am wrong. I think we all could say that we do this. But his words around not being afraid made me reflect and recognize that it's okay to be imperfect, and it is a good thing to try and correct myself. According to Confucius' teachings, it would be worse to let oneself continue to live immorally or without virtue. He would advise individuals to reflect on themselves, their actions, and thoughts, and do everything they can to correct it. For example, I think it is relevant around relationships, especially. If you are in an intimate relationship and you find yourself constantly lying to your partner about every little thing, Confucius will say you need to reflect on your actions. You need to look at yourself and make changes to yourself so you can live a virtuous life. Even though Confucius' teachings and writings are from centuries ago, they are still relevant in today's world. I find his readings to be personally and professionally relevant, and I will continue to reflect on his many wisdoms and lessons. I will also teach these lessons to my children as well.